is up, guys? This is Cody on the Real Sports Talk, bringing you the post-race video for the Bojangles Southern 500 at Darlington. Now, first off, I'm just going to say the thing that happened between Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman's crew, I'm not really going to make a comment on as far as whether I think it was right or wrong. I mean, I didn't really see what happened. I'm kind of ignorant to that, so I'm not going to comment on something I don't know the details from. But it's just the fact that at these short tracks, emotions can run high, and we saw that tonight. I'm sure something provoked the crew to do that. It was something about, I believe the crew chief said, Kurt Busch coming close to hitting crew members of the 39 car while they were both on pit road, and that's definitely something that is a safety issue and would upset them, but I wasn't able to see it myself, so I'm not going to make a huge comment on that as far as whether I think it's right or wrong. Other than that, the big story tonight is Jimmie Johnson winning Rick Hendrick's 200th race in the Sprint Cup Series, and that's pretty big for him and for both Jimmie Johnson and Rick Hendrick. Jimmie Johnson also won his 200th race, or excuse me, his 150th race. Jeff Gordon won his 50th race and also his 100th race, and I believe it was Jeff Bodine that won the first race for Rick Hendrick. So just that's a huge accomplishment that teams come far. Rick Hendrick didn't have sponsors coming into this sport. Big accomplishment from him. I mean, I'm not going to go into a big history lesson about Rick Hendrick and how he started out, but just it shows that in this sport, if you pick the right drivers, make the right moves as a team owner, and with possibly a little bit of luck, you can be successful in this sport. And Rick Hendrick shows that. He came into the sport with no sponsorship and a lot of ambition, and he started off with some veteran drivers and then came along with Jeff Gordon, and he's kind of built up the whole Hendrick empire from there. But anyway, back to the race tonight. There were a lot of different strategies that played out. I said in the post or the pre-race video that you had to really be ready to adjust to the track and stay with that. And we saw guys fading from early in the race and also coming back strong at the end of the race. Greg Biffle was strong early, faded back, came back a little bit. Also Matt Kenseth charged toward the front. Casey Kane was a guy that was in the front, faded back a little bit, came toward the front at the end of the race. Marcos Ambrose, guy that was a lap down, ends up finishing in the top 10, I believe, and that's a good finish for him. As well as Joey Logano, who ran top 6 at points in the race today. Good day for Joe Gibbs Racing. A lot of different strategies played out. And like Denny Hamlin, for instance, he stayed out on a caution. He was the only guy to do it. He was like 10th when the caution came out. He ended up staying out, and he stayed in the top 5 or so the entire race from there on. And there were not cautions for the first 170 laps of this race. We went through 3 green flag cycles of pit stops, and there ended up being 7 more, so a total of 8 cautions throughout this race. There were 5 in the final 70 laps. The cautions breed cautions theory came to be true in this race, especially as people started to get more aggressive on this tight track at Darlington where it is difficult to pass. And toward the end of the race, track position really proved to be key. Martin Truex, who was very strong, it looked like he had a good shot to win the race, came into pit, and he never really got back up to the front in time. He ended up finishing 5th, strong race car, ended up getting into the wall, and just couldn't get back up front after he pitted, and he was pretty frustrated there. That's probably one of the reasons he got into the wall. Another guy who was having a good run, Kurt Busch, with James Finch's race team, Phoenix Racing. He, unsponsored, was running in the top 10 most of the race, and he ended up wrecking toward the end, and that situation with Ryan Newman took place. Newman was running decent all night. He ended up wrecking and crashed out of the race. It was pretty exciting on the restart. Came down to a fuel mileage game for those guys that decided not to pit when Truex pitted, and that they kind of stretched their fuel, and they were turning it on and off with the EFI. Not really sure how much that really saves. There's not really proof, but I'm sure the engineers are going to look at that, and they're going to figure out eventually how useful that tool is, shutting off the engine. So yeah, Jimmie Johnson wins, and Tony Stewart ends up coming in 3rd, Denny Hamlin in 2nd, Kyle Busch comes in 4th after a solid day, Martin Truex Jr. in 5th, Matt Kenseth in 6th, Carl Edwards in 7th, Casey Kane in 8th, Marcus Ambrose in 9th, and Joey Logano comes home in 10th. Some notables here: Danica Patrick finished 6 laps down, but kept herself clean throughout the race, and that's pretty impressive for a Sprint Cup race at Darlington. Just with the intimidation factor, she got lapped obviously quite a few times, but kept her nose clean and got some experience. She ran in both races. This was quite a grueling weekend for her. And some other notables: AJ Allmendinger finished in 33rd after being involved with Jimmie McMurray in a wreck, and McMurray ended up finishing in 34th. Jeff Gordon with another very unlucky night. Broke something in his car, possibly ran over some debris, not really known. He cut a tire, came down pit road, and then changed that tire, went a lap down as the caution came out, and then on the preceding green flag run, Gordon cut another tire, same left rear tire, so he had to take it behind the wall and get that fixed, and Gordon ended up coming back out, but he finished well over 30 laps down, or about 30 laps down. So that's disappointing for him as he falls in the point standings. And guys like Gordon who just keep falling at this point, they just need wins to get into the chase. I'd say probably 2 wins will get a person into the chase at this point. So if Gordon can win a couple races between now and the beginning of the chase, I think he can have a shot at the championship still. It's just a matter of getting hot at the right time. If you get in, you have a shot at winning the championship. So this is something that is going to be difficult for Gordon, but he can still overcome it, although very difficult, as I said. Point standings now: Greg Biffle in the lead, Matt Kenseth in second. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who finished in the 20s, ends up 3rd after this race. Denny Hamlin is in 4th, cutting that points margin down on leader Greg Biffle. Jimmie Johnson up 3 spots in the points to 5th, and Martin Truex Jr. stays in the top 10, keeps that solid season going with his finish, even though he was disappointed with it, and he finished 6th. Tony Stewart in 7th, Kevin Harvick back 3 spots to 8th in the point standings. Kyle Busch with his solid run in 9th. Carl Edwards just kind of being really under the radar this year, quiet and consistent in that 10th points position. And I think this might be the first time all year I actually picked the winner, so that's a point for me, I guess. I also said to look out for Paul Menard. He ended up finishing in 13th, not as well as I thought he'd run. So lapped down a lot of the night, really surged forward late, and ended up getting a decent finish there in 13th. So his title hopes are still alive as well. I think if he can sneak out a win at some point during the season, or if he can just continue to run somewhat consistent, he might be able to sneak his way into the top 10 in points and make it that way. But he's also going to have to look out for guys like Brad Keselowski, who will probably get there, who had sort of a rough night tonight at Darlington. Never really had it figured out, not a lot of speed in the car, and some issues there. I think that's about all I got for you here from Darlington, so I'll catch you guys next time.